Thanks to all of you and welcome. You know, this day we were just talking out in the courtyard, right? This is not just a day for all of us to come together, but we're all here together because we are a community and because we love this place. And you can imagine for somebody in my seat to get together on a Saturday with a bunch of people who love this place, this is a good day for me. This is one of my favorite days. You know, when you say, well, so what's going on? What are you excited about? There's so many things I could talk about that I'm excited about. I'm just going to give you one because in the last week, Cal Day, which is sort of the selling event for UC Berkeley, mostly for the undergraduates, right? And normally we're not that involved in Cal Day because we have never admitted undergraduates to the business school. As freshmen, we're just not that involved in the freshman admissions. This year, for the first time, we admitted some students as freshmen to the business school. And these were students that were admitted, about 50 of them, to the College of Engineering as well. It's a brand new dual degree program for undergraduates in engineering and business. Now this is exciting. It's called MET, Management, Entrepreneurship, and Technology. We had 2,500 applications for about 30 slots. In the first year, and we haven't even marketed to all the high school counselors yet, and I'm telling you, these young people that showed up at Cal Day that have been admitted to that program, holy smokes, are they good? I mean, it's exciting. You know, 5 years from now, my guess is one could imagine a kind of science in business vision taking place where some 1/3 of our undergraduates are finishing their program here at Haas with a second degree in chemistry or life science or engineering. That's remarkable. Now they're coming in with lots of AP units and they're coming in with lots of things that you and I didn't come in with that makes this possible. It will be challenging, but I don't want you to think we're trying to kill them, for those of you that remember. And just one other quick comment, right? You wouldn't want me to, and you've told me this a million times, you wouldn't want me to manage our school just to do well in the rankings. But I'm happy to say that by doing the right things as a school, we're also doing very, very well in the rankings. You know, we have 6 degree programs. 3 of our 6 degree programs are number 1 or number 2 in their category. Our undergraduate program is number 2 in its category in U.S. News, by far its most important ranking. University of Pennsylvania, Wharton is the number 1 undergrad program and has been for a little while, but with programs like MET, we are gaining. I'm sounding so competitive. Our evening weekend program in its category, part-time MBAs, has ranked number 1 in U.S. News for 5 straight years. It's a jewel in our crown. And our MFE program, Masters in Financial Engineering, its 2 main rankings, the Financial Engineering Times and QuantNet, it ranks number 1 in both. So those are absolutely outstanding. Of course, our remaining 3 programs are all in the top 10, all super solid. Where does our full-time MBA rank? It depends upon which ranking you look at. It's number 7 in U.S. News. It's number 7 among U.S. schools in the Financial Times. Anyways, it's doing very well. We want to keep making it better. And our executive MBA program that used to be joint with Columbia is now on its own and doing better and better and better every year, certainly solidly in the top 10. Our PhD program has been very, very strong for a long, long time. So the programs are doing great. Hey, I'm going to take a little bit more time than I usually do to talk about some specific elements rather than just update you, all right? And some of these specific elements, I'm going to start with what I'll call some leader anecdotes, some leader stories, right? These are Berkeley leaders. These are leaders from Berkeley, but they're more than just leaders from Berkeley. They are about Berkeley. They represent us. They are representative, and I want to say a couple things about them. Patrick Awuah is somebody that many of you have heard of. Patrick was one of our MBA alums. He finished in 1999. He and a classmate, Nina Marini, went to Ghana. Patrick came from Ghana and started a university. Right after school. It's called the Shesi University. It is respected within Africa, the whole continent, certainly Western Africa, as one of the best universities on the continent. Outstanding success. He set this up with a vision that we could teach engineering, we could teach business, we could teach a lot of things. They're growing more and more departments over the years. We want to develop innovative thinkers and ethical leaders for Africa. That was his vision, and here's how we're going to do it. And it's astoundingly effective. They are many, many young women in the African continent and beyond, but across the whole continent are getting access to educational opportunities at Ashesi that they might not otherwise have been. Look, Ashesi and what Patrick created, making better lives for an awful lot more people. Here's another story. Janet Yellen, many of you took courses from Janet, for decades on our faculty. You know who she is. You know what she's doing. She was the lone voice at the Fed predicting recession in 2007. The Wall Street Journal listed her as the most accurate forecaster of our economy's future. She's focused in her role as chair of the Fed on transparency and openness. We want people to understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. She's one of the most ethical people I've ever met, and some of you know her pretty well from her class. I mean, she just is straight at you, really remarkable, uncompromising in her standards, right? And so she's improved an awful lot of lives. She is of the stuff of this business school. I'm going to talk about a third story, Wolfgang Stair. Wolfgang, most of you haven't met. Some of you did because you graduated with Wolfgang, but he is the chief of pediatric surgery at UCSF's Children's Hospital. He experienced, in his own words, a transformation in our executive MBA program. It changes the way he works, and it changes the way he manages the operating room. It's a high-stakes environment. All human beings matter. These are kids on the operating table. Getting it right really matters. Now, one of the things Wolfgang talks about, of course, he learned a lot in our program, but he says, we have a course called Leadership Communications, and our students are transformed by it, and he was transformed by it. And it's not just standing up and delivering. It's also, what are the difficult conversations? How do you have them? How do you communicate when you need to get something done together? He was really transformed. So one of the things that he did is he said, we have a problem at the hospital. We need to bring the same level of care, community, and positivity toward each other that we bring to the children. Those are his words. So he created a course for 25 doctors, nurses, and staff, and they went through a 3-day workshop with one of our faculty to try and inculcate some of what he had learned here, some of that transformation. And the impact was huge. It transformed their operating room. It is literally making the difference between life and death for some very young people. And they're rolling it out to more UCSF staff. So that came directly from our course and our curriculum. So those are stories. Let me talk a little bit about culture. So I'm moving from a few leader stories to talk about our culture, and we've talked about our culture together a lot. It's important to us. These kinds of leaders help us to imagine an even brighter future. And when we are intentional about the sorts of leaders we develop, we think about things like our defining principles. Now, we've used the phrase defining principles for years now. They're really leadership principles. If somebody said, show me a leader you respect that doesn't question the status quo, that isn't asking, isn't there a better way to do this? There are a lot of smart people, by the way, who don't ask that question all that often. That's fine. They're just not geared that way. So just because you're smart doesn't mean you're looking at the world and thinking, isn't there a better way to do this? They're correlated, but they're not the same thing. Hard to find a great leader, right? You could be a caretaker leader, I guess, but that sounds like an oxymoron, right? What is leadership? The confidence without the attitude. True confidence comes without arrogance. These are the sorts of things that engender trust and followership. Doesn't mean somebody can't be the formal leader of a team or a group or a company, but arrogance tends not to promote the stuff that we associate with authentic leadership. Students always. Somebody said to me recently, great leaders, they extract more insight from the same experiences. They just learn faster. They know they can learn on the fly. They know when they don't know, but they also go into a situation and say, I know I can learn that. They have the confidence to know that they can Learn on the fly. And beyond yourself. We've all heard the phrase, officers eat last. We all know what that means. If somebody says leaders leave people and places stronger than they found them, these are things we get. We also know it when we don't see it. We've all worked, the world needs all kinds. We've all worked for and with people who are leaders eat first people, right? You know it when you see it. So as we start to think about our culture as really how it's part of the stand we're taking around leadership, around how we're shaping human capital, talent. And it's also distinguishing us as a school. Now, it's not just about winning. It's also about purpose. We wrote those things down because they've been with us a long time. We didn't write them down and nobody could recognize them. We wrote them down almost 10 years ago now, but everybody recognized them because we codified what's been around for so long. But so first kind of chunk was on leaders, some leader stories. Second chunk was, our culture is really about leadership at some fundamental level. And this third chunk is about the purpose part of all of this. Why are we doing this? When somebody in our programs, undergrad or grad, starts to realize, my gosh, through the first 20, 25, maybe 30 years of my life, I distinguished myself as an individual contributor. And at some point, something clicks and you realize the most important work I'm going to do in my life is going to get done by working through and with other people. Now, you can call that psychological transition leadership, but that's fundamental. When you see yourself that way, when that identity for yourself becomes clear. And that relates a lot to purpose. I think I've told many of you this story before. I'm going to tell it again. One of our board members, Margot Alexander, said to me, and I think it was my first board meeting as your acting dean in 2005, and she said, you're our dean, you're also our chief purpose officer. You need to keep connecting us to the purpose of this very important institution. You've got a lot of people working here that are doing work that's essential to making the school work. That work might be 60 or 70% of their time is processing travel reimbursements. They're not seeing the magic in the classroom and the magic in the research every day the way you see it. Part of your job is instilling a larger sense of purpose in the people around you. There's a click. Somebody said that to me at 45. I wish somebody said that to me at 25. Doesn't mean I would have been good at it at 25, and I'm not saying I'm great at it now, but when somebody shares advice like that, right? What's the best advice you've ever got? That was one of the best pieces of advice I've ever got. So as we think about people that are succeeding by creating things that are really valuable, and they're not valuable because they're the same, they're valuable because they're different, because they're usefully different. They're creating something we need that hasn't been created. I mentioned Janet and Patrick and Wolfgang. I could mention Kristen Gruss-Richmond and Kirsten Sains-Toby, MBA's 06, Revolution Foods, serving healthy meals in literally thousands of schools, hundreds of thousands of lunches a day. Alex Venez and Nick Aurora started Back to the Roots, now BTTR Ventures. You've seen their cereals on the shelves with 3 ingredients, and they're just on a tear. Maura O'Neill, Berkeley-Columbia Executive MBA 04. Haas lecturer now. She's back teaching for us. Chief Innovation Officer at USAID. Look, these are people that are changing our world. And right, the list, obviously there's so many I could put on a list like that. So, that culture, values matter, but what does it add up to? Of course it matters, right? But it adds up to purpose. Why this institution? What are we most proud of? I just gave a keynote at a conference with some other deans, and I asked that question. I said, all right, what are the 5 things? These are my colleagues, right? My peers. What are the 5 things you're most proud of? Students come in state A, they leave in state B. What are the 5 A to B transitions you're most proud of? And I'm a finance guy. Nobody said, they can really price American options, just so well from our program. I don't detract, that's important, okay? But it's these transformations. It's these transformations. Like the transformation I just mentioned, put in that A to B format. How about the transformation from purpose consumer to purpose creator? That's huge. At what point in our lives do we realize I have a responsibility for creating purpose, not just feeding on the purpose that has been supplied to me? So, also, how do we share in our successes? Okay, I want to share one particular story of many that I could, but it's very recent. I want to share some of the success that's coming from this ethos, this way of thinking about leadership, this way of thinking about values, this way of thinking about purpose. And the example I want to talk about, and it's his reunion year, and he wanted to be here and could not, and was really disappointed. Scott Galloway. Some of you know Scott. Scott started a company called Profit Brand Consulting while he was essentially here just afterwards, working with Dave Ocker and his own classmate, Ian Chaplin. But he started a company more recently. So he's actually a faculty member at NYU, and he's in New York, and there was a big NYU event, and he couldn't come this weekend, but he really wanted to be here. But why am I bringing Scott up? He's been a leader, and he started a company called L2. L2 just sold. Now, Scott is somebody who signed the Founders Pledge. Some of you know what the Founders Pledge is. It's becoming a big deal. Founders Pledge is something that students and recent graduates are signing. And it says nothing more than, if I have a successful exit from my company, I will make a personally meaningful gift back to the school. That's all it says. It doesn't say 3% of founders' equity. It just says personally meaningful. Well, he signed that pledge. He gave us some restricted stock, and I'm not going to tell you the number, but his company sold, and that stock was the second largest gift we've ever received from an MBA. How about that? And we were talking to Scott, I was talking to Scott, and when he first sort of made the pledge, of course, we hadn't talked about what we were going to use it for, but on the acquisition of his company, he said, let's talk. And of course, let's talk. And he said, here's what I'd like. He said, Berkeley welcomed me. I'm the child of an immigrant. I would like this to go to student support for children of immigrants. And not only that, but also, in his words, it's an important part of Berkeley's story. It's also the story that we can tell of how welcoming this place is. So we have a short video that we're going to cue up here. And it's because Scott so wanted to be here, but he's going to give a little bit of perspective on kind of why he made the gift. And I think this is helpful for connecting to the sense that we're in this together, the sense that this institution matters a lot. It's one of society's most important assets. So here is Scott Galloway.
Good morning, Haas alumni. My name is Scott Galloway, graduate of the MBA class of '92. That's me. I know what you're thinking. I haven't changed a bit as the time go. Anyways, I apologize for the impersonal nature of this message. I'm on the faculty at NYU Stern School of Business, and today is our alumni reunion, which I am hosting. Wanted to grab a few minutes of your time to talk about a program that I'm involved in called the Founders Pledge. A couple years ago, Dean Lyons asked me to sign the pledge, stating that if my company, L2, recognized the liquidity event, that I would make a meaningful gift to the Haas School. We were sold to Gartner about 6 weeks ago. Yay, great news. And I am fulfilling on that pledge. The gift will underwrite a series of fellowships that will help the children of immigrants who, like me, come from middle-class households and could use the help. Cal will graduate more kids every year from lower-income households than the entire Ivy League combined. I don't know if you remember when we were in school, but we were in danger of dropping out of the top 20, and what a fantastic job our leadership has done, and what great fiduciaries they have been for our efforts. I make no delusions about what are the pillars of my modest success, specifically the big hand of government in the form of UCLA and Berkeley saved my ass, and I am hoping that this gift keeps that hand extended. I'm making similar gifts to NYU and UCLA, but the biggest gift is going to Cal. We do an outstanding job, and I think we can all say we, because I'd like to think everyone I'm speaking to does participate. I want to invite you into the light. I am not a billionaire stroking checks for tens of millions of dollars. I really felt this. This is meaningful for me, and it feels great to commit to something. And I hope that you join me in terms of making a pledge around your time, treasure, and talent to ensure that Cal offers the same amazing opportunities it offered us to future generations of kids that don't come from wealthy households, that maybe aren't exceptional growing up, but potentially have exceptional futures. If you have any questions about the program, about the Founders Pledge, or just want to get in touch, I would very much enjoy hearing from all of you. I can be reached at scott@stern.nyu.edu. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. This is Scott Galloway signing off from New York.
So thank you for that, Scott. And we thought about bleeping that word that started with A, and then we thought, no, we're about free speech around here. We're not going to do that to you. We're not going to do that. Look, networks matter. We have a faculty member here. Just a few concluding remarks. Toby Stewart, one of our great faculty members, came to Haas as a senior faculty member from Harvard Business School, and he works on networks. He's what we call in the jargon a social network theorist. But this whole idea of, what starts happening when networks get dense, right? And it's a very nonlinear process. It really starts getting valuable. So some of the phrases we heard from Amy, right? We are each other's ladder. We lean into one another. We support one another. Part of why we support one another is not just because we share the institutional affiliation, but we do share values. There are a lot of other institutions that share institutional affiliation, but if you said, are you pretty confident you share values, at least some fundamental values, it's harder to say yes to that. And I'm much more comfortable vouching for somebody that I have a pretty good sense I share values for. And I suspect you feel the same way. So, post that job at Haas, right? Hire Haas. Send us that, make sure that person considering school is going to send Berkeley an application, that people know that you will take the call. Come back to speak in a class, right? We contribute in different ways, and that's great. Find your way to connect to this network. Invest in it. Make it valuable for others. They will make it valuable for you. That's the nature of great networks. And last comment. So here's one of the things. It's this chief purpose officer thing. I mentioned, well, chief purpose officer, okay, those are fun words, and yeah, transition from purpose consumer to purpose creator, that's kind of fun. But what does that look like on the ground? I'm going to finish with this story. I get emails from you and other people, or videos like that. Does that make my day to get a video like that? Yeah, it does. It also made my day when the gift came in. But, there are things that make your day, and then there are things that you realize this would make everybody's day. If I shared this email or this video or this whatever it is, it will help the whole team. And I'm not just talking staff, faculty, and students, but alumni as well, to feel like this matters. We're part of something important. So I got this email. I'm not going to tell you who it's from, but it's from a donor. And it is the person who most helped us launch that management, entrepreneurship, and technology dual degree undergraduate program with engineering. And when we launched that program on the UC application, it went live in August. And we posted some articles on our Facebook page. And it said, we're launching this new program. Right? It was sort of the launch day was when that application went live. And there were a bunch of comments on the Facebook page, not surprisingly. People, some alums, some not, writing things like, oh my gosh, this program was like designed for me. Somebody wrote. Somebody else wrote, the dream. Somebody else wrote, if I had a time machine, I would want to come back and do this, right? I didn't get to do this. And so anyways, I put together a bunch of those quotes and thought, I'll send it to this donor. Now, this donor's achieved a lot in his life. He's achieved a lot in his life. And I sent a bunch of those quotes. I said, went live today, Facebook page went bonkers, here's some comments, thumbs up, kind of a thing. And I CC'd Shankar Sastry, my colleague, my counterpart in engineering, good friend of mine. And here's what the donor wrote back. This brings tears to my eyes. Thank you all so much for believing. You two will do more significant things in your careers because you educate and touch so many people. For me, I won't ever do anything more significant and lasting than this. This is forever. Thank you. Now, I share this with you because what we're doing matters. When people respond that way. Obviously, this was heartfelt. But I also want you to participate in how heartfelt that is, so that we all get a sense for the depth of the purpose in this place. It is a really important institution. Okay, that's it for my initial comments.